When I was 22, I lived in a really cozy little studio apartment B1. When my relationship at the time started to get more serious, we decided to move in together. I preemptively moved into a larger apartment in the same complex, apartment B6. B6 was just a one-bedroom apartment, but compared to the studio apartment, which was about, I think, 400 square feet, it was like a single-family home. This would have been my third apartment in my adult life. I lived in a one-bedroom, then I moved into a house with some roommates, and then I moved into the studio, and then into the this other one-bedroom, B6. There are a couple weird little conventions that usually take place in my adult life, even till now. When I bought this house, I moved in roughly on Halloween, just like a few days. It's always a few days before or a few days after Halloween. And for the move from B1 to B6, my lease agreement was starting on November 1st, but they gave me the keys a day early because it had been vacant for a long time. So they said, hey, go ahead and just move in a little early. So I ended up moving in on Halloween. That first night, the Halloween night, I had my partner at the time who was going to move in with me, but she still lived in another city and wasn't ready to come. So I was going to be in this apartment for a couple months on my own before we actually moved in together. But she was there with me that night. You know, it was just a normal night. We had Halloween traditions. I watched Trick or Treat, Hocus Pocus, and Alien and Aliens. Those are my four Halloween movies I always watch back to back. So the first night was fine. That was the night that my partner at the time was there. Then she went home the next day, and I unpacked. I got a little situated. So that was the next night was the first night I spent alone in apartment B6. And it was the first night in my life I experienced sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis, simply put, is when you think you're awake, but in reality, the only thing that's really awake is your ability to open your eyes. Your brain sends out a signal to your body to where you're not supposed to act out in your sleep. That for me and my dad specifically, it doesn't work very well. We're like sleep flailers. But sleep paralysis is when you can't move. Your eyes are open and you can see, but you are still technically asleep. Typically, with sleep paralysis, there is a sense of dread, like there's something with you, and some people also see things like shadow people, dark figures, and whatnot. I personally didn't. I swear there was something in the room with me, and I couldn't move. It's this massively oppressive sensation and phenomenon, and this was the first time I'd ever felt it. I'd thought I'd felt it before, and being a horror fan, I knew what sleep paralysis was, because it's kind of in the horror sphere a little bit, to be accosted by like a demon and you're unable to move in your sleep and whatnot. I thought I'd experienced it, but I hadn't. Not until that night. Not until that morning, really. That first night, the morning of. It was messed up, and it was not a great way to break in a new apartment. It really put me off. It really knocked me off kilter. The first solo night in this apartment, I had this terrible experience of sleep paralysis for the first time in my life. It was an odd coincidence. In the months leading, I think it was about a month and a half until my partner moved in with me. It was, I think I had it one more time between that night and the night she moved in. And it was, I mean, I'd never had it in my life, and then suddenly I moved into this place and I have it twice. And it seemed to subside a little bit after she moved in. So I don't know, maybe there was some stress or something. No, that's what I was thinking at the time. Maybe there was some stress moving into a new place. It was more expensive because it was bigger. I didn't have a massively well-paying job at the time. It was okay. It was the most I'd been paid in a job ever, but steps. Maybe moving in with a partner was a big step, and I was subconsciously stressed about it. There was a lot of things that I was rationalizing, trying to explain it to myself, because I'm fairly agnostic when it comes to supernatural stuff. I can't prove it exists. I can't prove it doesn't exist. All we have are stories from people telling you, I felt this, and I think it was this, which is basically what I'm doing now. After she moved in, like I said, it subsided for a while, but then it happened again. And it was almost more scary because you have someone lying next to you and you feel like you're screaming, you feel like you're twitching, you feel like you're doing everything you can, like, help me, wake me up. And they're just lying there. It's almost like a sense of betrayal in the moment. You're not moving, you're not making a sound, you're just laying there with your eyes spinning around, feeling like there's something in the room with you. Again, in some cases you actually see something in the room with you because you're dreaming. Your brain can project those images because you are still asleep. But that didn't happen with me. None of the times I've had it, I actually saw something. And then one day, she had it too. The timeline is a little hazy for me. I don't remember exactly what order all of mine happened and hers happened, but we lived there for a year and a half. I had it 6 times, and she had it twice. She had never had it before in her life either. So we're both in this place, suddenly having frequent sleep paralysis when compared to previously in our lives, which was 0. About halfway through our stay there, our year and a half-ish stay in that apartment, I got my first kitten as an adult. I had plenty when I was a kid. They would follow me home, and my family would take them in. I think I did that 3 times. But this kitten was about 4 to 6 months old, and she was part of a litter that lived under the dumpster in the back of the apartment. And we had this pizza place within walking distance, so pizza was something that people in this apartment would just walk to and get all the time. So the dumpster was always full of pizza scraps, and that's why Pazuzu, she loves pizza to this day, because it's like she remembers it as a kitten. She smells pizza, she'll start eating it out of when I'm trying to eat a piece. She'll start nomming on it. There's a video on my other channel of it. But anyway, obviously, being a cat person, I wanted to help the kittens, and I tried to get close to them. They still had their mom, luckily, and they were very feral, so almost none of them wanted anything to do with me. But Pazuzu was curious, so I would get her a little bit closer to me. Over the course of a couple weeks, eventually she was walking in the apartment. She was really tactile with the carpet and bedding and stuff like that, because it was the softest thing she'd ever felt in her life. Also, the ceiling fan really freaked her out because, yeah, I mean, it would freak me out too if I'd never seen something like that. So I had her for a couple months. She was a really energetic, wiry little thing. I say she was. I mean, she was energetic. She's an old kitty now. She's not that energetic. Still loves pizza. But yeah, she was really skinny, really wiry. She had that kitten, not so much fluffy, but the hair stuck out like a porcupine. She loved to play. She was fearless. And over the course of the few months leading up to the night I'm going to talk about, having her didn't really change the sleep paralysis thing. It was still really random, sporadic. Like I said, 6 times over the course of about 18 months, so I don't remember the timeline. It was a long time ago. But I've always had insomnia, ever since I was a teen at least. And one night, not even kidding, it was 3 in the morning, almost on the dot, and I think I was playing Hearthstone on my phone. That was what I did in bed when I couldn't sleep, and I would, just play Hearthstone on my smartphone. She slept on the foot of the bed. Pazuzu slept on the foot of the bed because she loved to attack toes when they moved under the blankets. She was a little monster. The layout of the apartment, or the bedroom of the apartment, was we had the bed against this wall, and then This wall, the bathroom was here, and the door was like that. There's no curtains in the bathroom. It was only a 2x1 window, something like that. And there's a light that would shine through the bathroom window, a street light in the parking lot. We had curtains in the bedroom window, the big bedroom window next to the bed, so it didn't bother us. But the street light would come through the bathroom and kind of illuminate that little bit of apartment in front of the door, and also really nicely silhouette the kitten at the end of the bed. Like I said, it was about 3 a.m, and suddenly I just feel like the end of the bed tense, and Pazuzu gets up, all four feet, gets up, and her tail goes up like this, and she's looking at the bathroom, and then just Christmas tree, the freaked out cat tail. I'd never seen her do anything like that. And she's just silhouetted, Halloween cat tail, arched back against this light, this really faint light, coming through coming out of the bathroom door from the window in there. There was no doubt. I was like, she sees something. She sees something right now. She's staring right at it. It's 3 a.m. I'm awake. Partner's asleep. I was like, oh, wow. If I go to sleep at any point tonight, I'm going to have sleep paralysis. Like, guaranteed. So, I didn't go to sleep. I was like, you're not getting me, demon. In that moment, I have never been more convinced that there was something not, like, scientifically provable wrong with that apartment. And it never got better until we left. Eventually, we got a house. It was completely different. Never had sleep paralysis again. Neither did she. But even when it wasn't sleep paralysis or the kitten seeing f***ing phantoms in the bathroom, that apartment always felt wrong. It always felt like some sort of oppression. And I'm not like I said, I'm not a believer in this stuff. I think that's why I like horror movies about demons, ghosts, monsters, stuff I don't believe in, because it's like purely entertaining. I don't like movies and shows where it's just a human as the bad guy, because we can just watch the news for that. And coming out of that apartment, finally, that really horrid feeling place, I tried to be scientific about it, because that's how I'm inclined. I believe in things you can prove. If you can't prove it, I say maybe you can't prove it yet. It doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but you can't prove it. So stop being so adamant about it. That's not me. So I wondered, maybe it was because of the living room faced inside the courtyard, and it was a square building. No light came in the living room, and obviously it's the living room. That's where you are most of the time. Light only came into the bedroom, and in the bedroom, you're usually in there when the sun's not up. So I thought maybe it had something, maybe it was like seasonal affective disorder. I have clinical depression, so it's possible I wasn't getting enough light. The sleep paralysis, I don't know, maybe that's connected to it, something like that. All I know, scientific-minded or not, even if it was free, rent-free, free utilities, free everything, I would not move back into that apartment.